Hey, what's up everyone? The Dan Sandwich here, back in Automation and BeamNG.drive. Today showcasing yet another build in Automation. This one, maybe the best car that I've built so far. Probably is the best car I've built so far. It's actually really, really good to drive. I think it also looks really good too. I mean, this body style is kind of cheating because it's just a really good looking car to start off with. But this is my take on like a luxury sport grand touring car, kind of like a Bentley Continental GT or like an Aston Martin Vantage or like a Mercedes-Benz SLS AMG or something like that. This is kind of my stab at that sort of thing, and I think it did a pretty good job. This is also the first car that I really fully modeled the interior. It did a lot of work on the interior, making it look as close to something that would exist in real life as possible. I think I did a really good job with that too. I'm still not great at modeling interiors, but I this is the best I've done so far. Wanted to go with like this brown Alcantara, some wood paneling here, blue leather to match the exterior. Kind of a different looking interior, but I think it looks pretty nice. Definitely stands out. But definitely the most work I've done at designing an interior of a car so far. But yeah, let's take a little general overview of this car here. I'm gonna start by starting with let's start with the engine. Yeah, this is a 4.5 liter twin turbo V8, and it makes 600 horsepower exactly at 6,100 RPM. It does rev out to 6,900 RPM, nice. But obviously its peak power is at 6,100. You can see here everything I did here. So there's the bore and stroke. It's billet steel crank, heavy duty forged conrods, forged pistons, harmonic damper. Everything's +5 quality. I feel like that does do a pretty decent job of keeping things realistic while not going, overboard. 8.3 compression, 59 cam profile, 64 springs and lifters. No VVT, but there is VVL. This is the power band. So this is I'm pretty happy with the way it kind of makes power here. So there's a lot of torque early on, and then it kind of builds power, and then it kind of maintains the power there for a while before it drops off. But there's a lot of torque early on, which is pretty good for a turbocharged engine. Usually with turbo engines, you kind of have a little bit more power than torque, but this actually makes more torque than it does power, which is pretty cool. I think it kind of matches what I had in mind for like a GT car. You want to be able to kind of like get going pretty quickly, but a pretty smooth power delivery overall. Yeah, so here's the turbo setup. So again, 2 turbochargers, boost control. You got twin scroll ball bearing. You can see all the numbers there. It runs on 90 premium fuel. Again, I feel like that's pretty realistic. Performance mid intake manifold, direct injection per cylinder, dual exhaust, the turbo mid header design, high flow 3-way catalytic converter, straight through on the first muffler, and then it is baffled on the second muffler, and then there are bypass valves because again, this is kind of like a almost like a luxury car, so you don't want it to be crazy loud. But yeah, I'm really happy with the way this engine turned out. Let's give it a listen here. I don't love the way that it sounds at idle. I don't know if you can hear this, but yeah, the idle's not great. Listen to those blow-off valves of the turbo, though. That's fun. But I think it sounds pretty good overall. All right, for the chassis, we have an aluminum body panel material. Again, I wanted to keep it fairly realistic as well. There is a carbon fiber monocoque. Again, because given the kind of prestige level of this car, it kind of makes sense for that sort of thing. Again, front longitudinal double wishbone up front and multi-link in the rear. Yeah, again, I think it's just a really nice looking body. You can tell it's very reminiscent of like a Bentley or like a Mercedes Benz or something like that. Longitudinal rear wheel drive, 8-speed dual clutch transmission, electric LSD. We've got 20-inch wheels on this thing. You know, very high class. You know, nice big wheels. 230 in the front, 280 in the rear. Maybe a bit chunky for this kind of car, but given the performance of this car, it actually, I think, makes up for it. We do have carbon ceramic brakes all the way around, 4 piston brakes everywhere as well. There is a spoiler on here, and I do have the sport under tray, so for good aerodynamics. It's a 2-seater. I did the luxury interior with the luxury heads-up display, and then advanced 20s safety, all of the bells and whistles there. Suspension, you have semi-active active sport suspension and all that there as well. I'm also impressed that I was able to manage to get a 50-50 weight distribution in a car like this, and it only weighs 3,300 pounds, which is really light for a car like this. Most cars like this are like in the 5,000 pound territory, so the performance of this car is going to be pretty serious. You know, once I get it into BeamNG.drive, I'll show you what I'm talking about here. It does 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in 3.2 seconds, so that's pretty quick for a car like this. It does a quarter mile in 10.62 seconds. It says it gets up to 241 miles an hour. I didn't really regulate the top speed too much. I feel like that's excessive for a car like this, but I'm just going to let it ride, especially since I'm going to be testing it on the track later and things like that. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with the way this car looks as far as the fixtures are concerned. This is my first time making custom head and taillights and a custom grille. I think they've worked out pretty well. Nothing crazy here, but I'm happy with the way that looks. And I also changed up the DSM logo. Now I'm incorporating the red, blue, and yellow that I have on my all my YouTube channel stuff. So it kind of suits that pretty well. But yeah, I'm really happy with the way this car turned out. I call it the Furier. I thought that was a decent name for this kind of thing. I don't really know. I'm not very good at naming things in general, but it's the DSM Furier GTS because it's a Grand Tour, but it's kind of a sport Grand Tour. But yeah, that's essentially it. And let's take it into BeamNG.drive now and see how this thing performs. Alright, here we are in BeamNG.drive in the DSM Furier GTS. I totally forgot to mention that I put side exit exhaust on this thing. I just thought it would be a nice kind of like unique touch to kind of make this stand out amongst the competition a little bit. But yeah, here we are, and I think it exported pretty well to BeamNG.drive. You can't always be sure of that. But yeah, let's give it a test to see how this thing does. Let's put this thing into sport mode. See what this engine sounds like. Yeah, that's pretty good still, yeah. Again, it doesn't... it idles kind of weird, but everything else sounds really good with it once it gets going. And yeah, because of the 50-50 weight distribution, this thing is really pretty planted around the track. I don't have semi-slicks on here like I do on like the supercars and stuff like that I've built. But with normal sport tires, this thing still is really grippy around the track. Yeah, it just handles that turn almost flawlessly. It's really, really good. So that's why I feel like this is probably one of the best cars I've ever built in automation. Probably the best car I've built so far. I think it looks great. The performance is definitely there. It handles so nicely. I'm just really, really happy with the way this car turned out. And it's quick, up to 175 on that straight there before I have to start slowing down for that sweeping left turn. So yeah, it's pretty quick. I mean, 600 horsepower, you know, that'll definitely do the job. Still getting used to that turn there. It's a little sketchy. But yeah, overall, this is just a really, really good car to drive. Oh, did not brake in time for that section right there. It's good that I'm getting a warm-up lap in, because I I've done this track how many times now, but I still have to get used to it in every car, because every car is obviously going to be different. Even though, like I said, this car is as good as it is, it's still gonna, you know, be a little difficult the first time out. I really like the way that V8 sounds once you kind of rev it up a little bit. And then the other thing is I actually, I managed to get, like, an interior camera in here, and then I kind of put the, like, one of the screens there in the middle, so that's like a working screen right there. Ooh, it actually sounds really nice from the inside. Well. The steering wheel doesn't turn at all, but, you know, pretty decent interior view, I think. Kind of step the tail out a little bit if you want to, but it kind of quickly corrects itself. But, yeah, that's, you know, now that I've kind of given it a nice test run around the track, what am I doing there? Let's go ahead and see what kind of lap time I can put down in this thing. Alright, 2 laps around the test track, just like I do in all of the other cars. See how this thing does, what kind of time I can put down. Again, putting it in sport mode, because that's what how I've been testing all of the cars so far. Probably could have taken that a little bit smoother. I cut it a little bit as well, which is, you know, maybe not the best way to take that turn. Onto the straightaway now. Let's see how fast I can get this thing to go right now. See, back up to like 175 or so, just like my test run. Into the sweeping double apex. Pretty good right there. See if I can brake in time for this turn this time. That time maybe a little bit too soon. Oh, okay, never mind. Not quite what I wanted to do there, but not terrible either. Onto this section here. Sorry, I never know what to say while I'm doing these hot laps. Onto the final turn there. It took a little bit wide, but I was going pretty quick through there too. Stomp on the brakes for that first chicane right there as well. Oh, tail stepping out a little bit, going off track. Not too bad though. Again, this thing will still get squirrely if you're not careful. Definitely took that turn better this time. That should help. Alright, on to the straightaway once again. Stomp on the brakes. Gonna coast around this turn here. Oh, gonna take this a little bit wide, but not too bad there. Alright. And then, this turn's been messing me up lately. Took it pretty nice right there. Maybe a little slow, but better slow than ending up in those tire walls. Oh, stepping out a little bit there on the sweeping left onto this right-hand turn, and it's starting to drift again a little bit. Gonna lose a little bit of time there. Onto the final left-hand turn, and onto the last turn, and onto the final straight, foot to the floor. Let's see what kind of time we end up with here, and 4:24.7. So, definitely a lot faster than the off-road muscle car that I built, but not supercar fast. Somewhere in the middle there. So, kind of what I expected. Again, I wasn't expecting this to really compete with the supercar and the race car that I built already. But pretty good for a luxury GT car. Alright, here we are at the West Coast USA drag strip once again to see how fast the DSM Furior GTS goes on the drag strip. Once again, going to be competing with the same car, so everything is fair. We stage it here, and they're having a little bit of trouble staging it on their side. And we're off, and I got off to a really good start there. Sometimes they need 2 runs to set a time, but I don't think that's going to be necessary this time. 10.1 second quarter mile. That's really quick for a car like this. Not as fast as like the muscle cars and stuff like that. I feel like that's probably faster than... once again, it's sitting in between the supercar that I built and the off-road muscle car. That's probably right in between there. But I'll double check that a little bit later, of course. But 10.1 second quarter mile. I think that's even faster than what Automation said it would get to. But yeah, really, really good drag run right there. All right, so we are back at the West Coast USA Highway, and we're about to see how long I can survive in this thing with everyone chasing me. Again, I think the record is like 4.5 minutes, so I got a I got a little bit of a challenge here ahead of me, I think. But this car is really good, so I might be up for it. So what I'm gonna do this time, I'm gonna change it up a little bit. I'm going to unpause the game, then start the timer, and then start going, because I think it's gonna get me a closer to realistic result. Still figuring out the best way to do this. I need to find some sort of timer that would work well for this, like the mod into the game. But until I figure that out, this is what we're doing. So, okay, let's unpause the game, and then start the timer, get back to the game, and get going. And, oh my god, I have, like, 4 frames per second right now. Let's see. Try to avoid these guys at the start, and I do so. Getting onto the highway now. Yeah, I really gotta... Oh man, maybe I should stop doing this challenge until I get a little bit better PC, because yeah, I can barely like steer right now. I'm getting such bad frame rate. But we're going now. Yeah, this is awful. This is like borderline unplayable. It's getting a little bit better just because I think the traffic is spread out a little bit. We're over a minute now. Okay, onto the first bend here. Haven't really encountered too much trouble other than with the frame rates. Alright, getting through this tunnel section here. Oh. Slow down a little bit. Oh, they did a pretty good job trying to block me off there, but this thing is so maneuverable. It got great brakes, excellent suspension. The more I mess around with automation, I think the better I'm getting at making like actual good cars. Okay, a little dent there, but nothing major. Had to go up on the median. My steering is definitely affected though. Let's hang a right at the gas station here, and yeah, steering is definitely impacted now, and it's having a really hard time keeping it straight. That seemed like a pretty minor impact, but yeah, it's definitely affecting my ability to steer here. Oh, and we're doing a little off-roading now. We're up over 2.5 minutes. I don't know how much longer I may be able to go. Oh, pretty rough collision there. Definitely have gone off the highway at this point. I'm going a little bit more the back roads, but might actually work out for me until I get to something like this where they just completely stop it and allow another guy. That was pretty clever. They had one guy like parked sideways there to kind of like block the road. Another one, oh, it's a rock, driving the other way to hit me from head on. It almost worked. Well, I mean, it did work in that they hit me, but it didn't ruin this car. Let's see, we're at 320 right now. Let's see. Oh man, oh man, this might be it. This might be it. Can I keep going here? Oh no. Oh, there it is. Okay, so we're gonna call time there. Probably like 3:35, I think. Before they got me there. So, definitely better than the other cars I've tested, except for that somehow the off-road muscle car was just really, really good at avoiding the cops. But yeah, I might have to stop doing this test until I can upgrade my PC a little bit, because it was borderline unplayable earlier. So I don't know. We'll see what happens there. But yeah, pretty good at avoiding collisions. This thing is really maneuverable and very quick, so that definitely helps. Alright, and last but definitely not least, we are at the car jump arena, and it's time to find out how far this thing can fly. So without further ado, let's go. I have traction control turned completely off for maximum craziness. But yeah, this thing gets up to 195 before getting off the jump, and it's gonna go nose completely in the air, and it lands around the 450 mark, a little underneath that, and the seats fly out of the car, which is unusual, but then it goes into a full front somersault right into the pool. So yeah, I did not expect this to go as far as, you know, some of the other cars I tested, but still pretty good. I mean, let's just do this again. 195 miles an hour before going off the jump. That's really fast, obviously, especially in a car like this. Let's see if I can't do better this time. No, probably about the same. Still engine way up in the air, and oh, I definitely cleared the 450 mark. That's actually more like 470 or so. Maybe I think that'll probably be the official distance there. Oh, it bounces over the pool, and then kind of gets stuck down here. But yeah, I mean, this is, again, probably the best car I have built so far, just from a drivability standpoint. And I think it looks great too. So let's go to the scoreboards and see how this thing matches up with the other cars that I've tested. All right, here is how the DSM Furior GTS stacks up on the leaderboards. So faster around the track than the Stampede Adventure, but still about 30 seconds slower than a supercar. On the quarter mile, it is 5th on the list so far. So once again, not as fast as the DSM-10 supercar, but faster than the DSM Stampede Adventure. When it comes to the Highway Police Survival, it is 2nd at a pretty decent 3 minutes 36 seconds. Not sure if I'm going to keep this challenge around until I can upgrade my PC, but for now, this is what it looks like. And then at the Car Jump Arena, I put this at around 455, so a little bit further than the DSM-10 supercar, but not as far as anything else on the list. All right, yeah, so that's how this thing matches up. Again, not the best car I've tested from the stats perspective, but just a really, really good car to drive. I'm really happy with the way this thing turned out. Of course, just like my other builds, I will put a link in the description below for the download link to this car. So if you want to try it out yourself, I would be really happy if you did that. So yeah, this has been another automation and BeamNG.drive video. I hope you enjoyed it. And I'm going to send this off the jump, do another 360. That's how I kind of like to end these. Yeah. So I hope you enjoyed it, and once again, if you want to try this car out, you can click the link in the description. Oh, quick little barrel roll there. And weird things are happening with the engine. Doesn't really know what to do. Yeah. I feel like it's a pretty good way to end it. Alright, thanks again for watching. I will see you in the next video. Bye.